Everybody is worried now because the old man lied in front of world TV, national TV. Yes, Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, said this: ultimate level of interest rates will likely be higher than previously anticipated. I have one thing to say about this. Remember back in the 80s when Volcker rose interest rates to like 17, 18%? The whole world is scared of a 50% basis point rise. It's becoming comical right now that the entire market is scared. I mean, look at crypto Twitter. Everybody's panicking right now. Here I am. I just made a market update on our CT Club. If you want to check us down below, seeing my thoughts, our coins that we are getting into, the link is down below for the CT Club. But I just told people I'm not worried a bit. I told them a little bit about history that, if the Federal Reserve was serious about inflation, they would raise rates a lot faster and a lot higher than they are right now, like Volcker back in the 80s. Okay, but we have such skyrocketing inflation, such a crazy high bond market right now. The Federal Reserve isn't going to raise rates too much. He's just not, okay? And I'm going to get into why he's not, okay? But first, let's go over a couple things. So Senator Warren to Jerome Powell said, we need a Fed that will fight for families, and if you're not going to fight, or if you're not going to lead that charge, we need somebody at the Fed who will. Now, this is all a game, obviously. We all know, if you don't know about the Federal Reserve, the Federal Reserve was created in 1913. It was enacted in 1913 by a bunch of oligarch bankers that pretty much ran the world, right? Rothschilds, Rockefellers, so Carnegies. So what the whole point of that was to, instead of competing with each other, they can just control the whole world. And that's essentially what they're doing right now with central banks. They own all the central banks in the world, and they control the currency supply. So they're in for themselves, not for, mom and pop shops or the regular person on the street. They couldn't care less. Obviously, just look at the devaluing of the US dollar over the past, 40 years. It's lost, 80% of its value over the past, since its inception of the Federal Reserve. It's lost 99.8% of its value. Yeah, a little too late, Senator Warren. Pretty much way too late. There should have been a revolution a long time ago. Okay, Sven Hendrik, this is funny what he's saying, because this is what Powell would say if he wasn't scripted so much. Okay, Powell would say, nobody knows how this would play out, but we insist on not forecasting a recession, while every historical precedent suggests a recession is coming. Oh, and we are very credible. So in reality, the Federal Reserve, they're meant to lie to people straight to their face. We all know inflation is higher than 5 or 6%. Come on, just go to the store, I think JP Morgan just came out with something. New vehicles are 30% higher now than they were back in 2019. They average around $50,000 now. That's inflation, guys, and that's not included in the government inflation figure that the Fed would want you to believe. Okay, let's go into some meat and potatoes here with what the Federal Reserve is doing, okay? So here's a great guy to follow on Twitter, by the way. His name is AltBTC Cycles, or JJ Cycles on Twitter. He says, here's the catch. The US Treasury pays for bonds by creating more debt. Okay, getting that? So they're printing more currency. Only this time the debt that they have to create is at multiples higher interest rate. Instead of 0% to 1%, it's now between 4 and 5%. So they're going to have to print more and more currency. But this is what's planned, right? This is what is going to create more and more inflation. Is the higher the interest rates go, okay? It's a vicious death cycle. I'm going to get into this more, okay? So creating more debt means issuing more bonds, meaning the supply of the bond market increases while demand does not, necessarily increase with its size of US Treasury maturing debt is huge. Next, he also says the Fed wants to continue rolling off its balance sheet and at the same time keep interest rates higher for longer. Okay? This means that the US Treasury will see its debt load increasing significantly and its interest payment obligations will skyrocket. Lastly, the US Treasury will have to issue an insane amount of bonds on the market in the next 1 or 2 years as long as the Fed continues to roll off its balance sheet. If the Fed does not jump in one way or the other, it means yields will rise significantly. So yes, the Federal Reserve is hell-bent on creating more and more currency out there. That's the whole point of the Federal Reserve. They are going to be the buyers and lenders of last resort. And that's why you're going to see inflation never drop over the long run for your entire lives as long as we are on this current debt-based system, okay? And that is why we're in crypto. That is why I've been dollar cost averaging since $15,000, $16,000. And I'm going to continue because I'm not buying this bearishness, guys. I see a lot of inflation coming and no way I'm about to ruin this opportunity of getting cheaper Bitcoin, which is filthy cheap compared to how much currency is being shoved in the world right now, and you haven't seen anything yet. That's all. Talk to you soon.